All right, if everyone's ready, I will call to order at 7 p.m. This is the Wednesday, September 28, 2016 Finance Committee meeting. On the agenda for tonight, we have a review of the fall town meeting warrant. Then we're going to discuss and possibly vote on committee positions. So we're going to start with the town meeting warrant. Members have an updated copy.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, couldn't have done that again if I tried. So what I would like to do is just do a quick walkthrough on the finance ones, and then we will quick pass over 4 and 5. We'll get to Article 6. We do have Chief Murray and Lieutenant Gill here to discuss that article with us, and then we'll circle back for 4 and 5 to discuss the Conservation Commission, if that's okay. All right, so we'll start with Article 1. As of this date, there's no prior year bills to pay. Article 2 is to raise and appropriate $4,000 for the Teenage Anxiety and Depression Solution, or TADS. It's a 2-year contract that the town is in. This is the second payment. It will just be a raise and appropriate. Going into next year, it's going to be discussed. We're going to actually incorporate it into the budget. It's just going to has to be decided whether it will be a piece to the regional school district, then Ayer and Shirley will do their own pieces, or the school district will take everything and then just assess it out. For Article 3, for the contract, any PBA superior officers contract is approved. So that's for the funding for that is for town meeting. The FY17 impact is estimated at $15,108. So there's the approval for the contract, and then there's probably going to be a separate article for the funding mechanism itself, depending on whether those can be included or not. Article 4 is to raise and appropriate the available sum of $35,178. This is for the Conservation Commission agent to become a full-time benefited position. The $35,000 does include the estimated cost for benefits. On Article 5, funding for the aquatic weed control for the town ponds, $54,000 is the request. This is year 1 of, they have, I believe it's a 5 or 6 year plan that they're putting together. And that brings us to Article 6, which is a borrowing article for funding for the Ayer Police Department Radio Coverage Improvement Plan. Phase 1, to see if the town will vote to borrow the sum of $222,066 for the purpose of funding Phase 1 of the Ayer Police Department Radio Coverage Improvement Plan. And down on the explanatory note, the article is Phase 1 of the Police Radio Coverage Improvement Plan is $222,066. Phase 2 is in the amount of $166,793 and will be presented at 2017 annual town meeting. They did make a presentation to the Board of Selectmen on September 20th, and they've joined us this evening to discuss. So, gentlemen, 1 or 2 want to come on up and discuss? We can discuss.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Hopefully we can answer all your questions, or Brian can answer all your questions.
Okay.
Since I'm just the figurehead.
I think it would be great for the other ones. I did listen to the Board of Selectmen's meeting online, but if you could just kind of give us an overall background and also what the what's going to be put in place at that point, and just kind of give us an overhead to begin.
Okay, and I think Chris has probably been brought up to date a little bit about what's going on. So basically, we've had a radio issue for a long time, and when the federal government mandated a narrowing of the band for radio usage, that exasperated our problems exponentially. So we have areas now in town where we have absolutely no contact or radio contact with our officers on their portables, which again in this day and time is just it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's unacceptable. So we tried ourselves to come up with a plan and a way to fix this a couple of years ago, and our thought then was we were going to use UDAG funds to do this with. And we were working with some folks. They said, this is what it's going to cost you. It was very reasonable. I think it was in the low 200,000 mark. And then they came back to us with this $750,000 price tag plus. And we tossed it out. That's not reasonable. That's not what we discussed. So we kind of figured out, we really don't know what we're doing. We hired a consultant. That's already paid for. All of that's paid for. To come out and say, this is what we have. Tell us what we need. Not to give us any bells and whistles, but to give us a basic radio system that is operable and keeps our officers safe. So I'm not looking for a P25 solution. I'm not looking for anything extra. We're not looking for radio equipment. We upgraded all of that through grant funds. Our new portables, that's not one of them.
That's one of the ones, yeah.
It's not one of them. Is it?
Yeah.
We upgraded all our officers to these portable radios at a cost of $3,000 to $3,500 a piece, all through grant funding. Didn't cost a ton anything. All our dispatch radio equipment, all through grant funding. What we need is a system, and this should have been done many, many years ago. Many towns already have this. In town where our signal can get boosted from wherever the officer is, and it's called a voter system. And basically what a voter does is you send the signal out from the portable, and this system around town picks up that signal. And they're called voter sites. And the site that has the best, or can give us the best transmission signal, will pick that signal up and send it back to dispatch. So we figured out we need two of these voter sites, as opposed to the 4 or 5 that the other people wanted to give us. One on one end of town, one on the other end of town. And in conjunction with that, we need to raise our radio tower, our radar, what do you call that, antenna tower, that's up at the high school right now, and replace our radio shed, which is basically just a wooden shack. It's rat infested. There's no climate control. If you can imagine, all of our primary radio equipment is in this shack that has, in the summertime, it's blazingly hot. In the wintertime, it's freezing cold. It's filled with rats. It leaks. It's just not adequate. And again, I want to preface, we've already purchased a replacement for that. This doesn't pay for that. It's already purchased. It's waiting for us right now. So we hired our consultant, and he's been working with us, working. And when was it that he came back?
It was about 3 weeks ago.
About 3 weeks ago, he comes to us and says, "Okay, I'm ready. Here's what it's going to cost you." So we've been scrambling around. We can't wait. We can't wait for a capital plan, because that'll put it off another year. We can't use UDAG funds, as you know. There's been a freeze on that because of other purchases the town's made. So our only hope was to come to town meeting and try to ask for the money. And we split this up into 2 phases.
That's phase one. The phase one is basically our main site, the one that's up by the schools. And what that's going to do is it's going to incorporate the shed that we have on hold, waiting for the site to be prepared, which is happening now. The DPW is taking down the water tanks, and given Inlight will give us a spot to put this proper housing for the equipment. Then from there, we're going to take the equipment off of the water tank, which is, we found through, and we've heard this multiple times, and our consultant has confirmed it, that the antennas on the tanks and offer a not the best quality signal. That's part of the problem we're having, not only in the outskirts but also in the areas all over town. Shading and shadowing of a radio signal. So it's an unpredictable, believe it or not, like the way the trees are waving could interfere because it is below the tree line of point. So one of the things that he said is the primary thing that you guys should be doing in this phase one is getting that antenna, an antenna. It's not actually the antenna, it's the housing. It's that thing that everybody attributes to antenna, this scaffolding kind of thing. and then putting the antenna on that. In getting that site prepared, ready for phase 2, and phase 2 would be placing the voter sites on each end of town, preferably and on area that we wouldn't have to acquire, and we do have already identified areas that we see would be usable. And when I say we, the consultant, and doesn't want to guide too much of the potential RFP process, and just so he knows that there are sites out there that'll be adequate that we already have. And from there, those sites will be built up, and the communication between the sites and the main site would be done. And I guess that's a relatively easy portion of the project. So those are, in a nutshell, the 2 phases. So we get the main site, phase 1, and everything that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2, which would be coming for the next town meeting, would be to fund that portion of it. The RFP process would be for both phases, so that we wouldn't want to have 2 companies, one pick up where the other one left off. So the RFP would be for the same company to bid on both phases. And when the funding is acquired, then we'll just jump right in.
What's the risk if phase 1 gets approved but phase 2 doesn't?
The risk we have with that is that we're not really going to fix the areas that we have in our outliers. So basically the new neighborhoods that are being built have the worst coverage. They're on the sides of hills and I'll say mountains, but hills. That the signal just isn't getting to, not even the cruiser radios at some points, and that's just a direct result of terrain.
Okay.
Which is very unique to Ayer, the terrain that we have here, and we've seen this over the years, and it's been told to us by experts that we're just so weird in the way our hills and valleys go that sometimes the signal just isn't working. So this first phase is going to, like Brian said, is going to take it off that tower.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the concave shape of a water tower does not work well with radio signal. And that leads to part of our problem. So getting it off of that, this first phase is going to help a little bit. It's going to make an improvement. It's that second phase of getting our outside, Westford Road area, base really, making sure that we have communication out in that area.
Okay.
Brian, do you know if when he tested this current antenna, did he sweep that antenna? It's a system they use that they plug into it, and they send a signal up the antenna and back down, and it tests everything in the current antenna. Do you know if they did that when they checked the signal?
Yeah. So prior to what our lead up to where we're at now, and like the chief alluded to, we tried so many different things to mitigate this solution, and one of them was a soup to nuts evaluation. And at one point we replaced the antenna, and they replaced the I guess the wire is the best way to I don't know if there's a more technical term, but there's a thick wire that runs up the side of the tank, and they did some sort of test on it that it showed a level of resistance, and that was replaced. Did it improve it? I don't know if it improved, I'm sure on some technical level it improved it, that the meter said it was a little cleaner, but it didn't help our underlying problem. So I don't know if that's what you were asking though.
Yeah, I think that's basically what it does.
This is why we had to hire a consultant, because we use things like thingies and big wires and about that big.
I don't blame you.
It just
Don't
tests
blame
the
you at all.
output and make sure everything that's in that antenna is properly working and have any output.
Yeah, our radio shop, has been trying many different. We've tried different antennas, and they're the ones who first started talking about the concave or concave, shape, and we're just like, okay, whatever. And we've heard it multiple times, so there is something to it, and including the consultant we have now. He says, yeah, there is the way that the antennas operate somehow get affected by that shape.
Okay. And how long has this been a problem? Because I heard it's been going on for years.
95. What is yours?
87.
87. it's just, we've always had a problem, because we've always had just this one main site,
Mm.
and in our old, you know, my beginning days anyway, it was just, that's the way it is. And, you know, apparently it just, that's not the way it is. You know, there were things that could have, you know, we could have looked at to mitigate it. Whether or not they existed back then or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is, the system that we're looking at now is kind of a system that's in use by all our neighbors. Shirley has a voter system, Groton has a voter system, Littleton has a voter system. I'm not going to say Littleton, I'm not exactly sure. They may have what's called a repeater system,
Mhm.
but multiple repeaters. So that's kind of where we're at. So we've tried so many different things to not come to here. We've made some equipment purchases over the years. We've upgraded some of our other, some of our equipment that we use out in the field. But what's where we're at now is we can go no further. We've done all the improvements we can by ourselves, and it's unfortunate the way that the timing happened for us. We're just the way we roll at the Ayer PD. Everything kind of comes to a head at times that we're under the gun usually, to try and move things along, and that's where we're at now. I know there was some question about going to Capitol. Why we didn't go to Capitol? We didn't know what the problem was. We've been trying to get that answer, because what we were going to do was come with that $775,000 proposal. We didn't know it was going to be that amount, but what we planned on doing was bringing that forward in some form or fashion. But when we got that number, we're like, we don't even know if this is the answer. It was pieces of equipment that we weren't familiar with. It was maybe up and coming equipment. So we really couldn't come to the capital planning group because we didn't have a solution, and we really weren't upgrading anything. We were trying to fix a problem, but we didn't know what the fix was yet until 3 weeks ago.
And this is gonna be the fix-all. Because it seems like it's...
This is what we're told.
That's
Okay.
what we're, I mean, that's, yeah.
We're told
That's,
by competent authority, so it's somebody, it's not us, it's somebody that we've come to trust.
No, I understand.
He's
Definitely.
working for us. He's gonna be our, what do you call him? Project engineer. He's gonna be on site with the project. He's gonna oversee it for us. We're paying him, separate from all of what we're asking for.
and he is a highly credentialed consultant. I mean,
Yeah.
he was
I
part
don't
of the
doubt that at
Katrina
all, so.
rebuild down there for their communications. So he's, and if you got the chance to see him, I mean, he's very knowledgeable. But
Yeah, there were a few things he was saying.
Yeah.
My eyes were still
yeah, I mean,
starting to roll back.
we
in
just
my
kind
head.
of roll with it. So.
But that's just kind of how it fell for it. We're not trying to bypass any processes. This is new for us. We're not used to this kind of purchase. So that's, and there isn't some urgency to get this done because officer safety is in line now. And it's gotten worse, and, we just...
I think it's just not only officer
Can't
safety,
have
it's a public safety issue at this time.
Well,
Because
right. Right.
if your officer came to my house and his radio's not working and I need help and he needs help, then we all need help.
And then there's some benefit to the other departments in town. The fire department, they're gonna be able to use our storage unit, our shed. They're also gonna have a place on our radio towers in our voter systems if they ever wanna use it. Right now, they don't need it.
Okay.
But the officers been out there, officers up for the DPW as well. They don't wanna use our shack because they have their own system up there. But it's a benefit for everybody. Everybody can
Right.
use this. We're just gonna get the most benefit out of it right away.
Yeah. So the only, first off, yeah, it's something that's needed. I don't think there's any question about that. For me, it is just the kind of the process, and also doing the phase 1 and the phase 2, because if you combine phase 1 and 2, you're looking at a debt exclusion, which I know requires a vote and town meeting approval. But it's a tough position to be in. We talked about this at the buy board last night with Gary, who's the representative from the Board of Selectmen, and it's put everyone in a tough situation because it is an urgent need for safety, but also there's a process. We don't want to set a precedent of, fall town meeting being other departments suddenly coming down and saying, hey, I need a $300,000 or a $200,000 piece of equipment or some replacement. So like I said, for me, there's no question that it is needed. And I think I'm leaning towards myself just letting town meeting make that call, whether they want to approve it in the fall, or if they say no, we'll get it through the capital planning and look at maybe doing a debt exclusion, where we could piggyback the spring election for the ballot portion and then spring town meeting. And then Lisa Gabri said that I think as long as if it's a debt exclusion, once that second piece is approved, which would be fall spring town meeting, then funds become available right away. So it kind of expedites, it's only like a month and a half, but it expedites the process a little bit. But yeah, like I said, it's not a question of whether it's needed, it's just the process, and that's kind of where I'm struggling. Because it's not just you guys, because we have 2 articles from Conservation Commission asking for the same type of thing.
Yeah, and me and the chief talked before and after our presentation, and that the capital planning portion of this, if this was a standard upgrade, just like when we did our mobile radios and the cruisers and our first generation upgrade to that portables, that wasn't an immediate rush, so that was part of a capital thing. If we didn't think this was an urgent, and again, I don't want to, as I said at the meeting, I don't want to make it sound like this is, the world is falling in on itself, but it is, of concern to us and to the offices. That's why we're bringing it this way, and we feel strongly that this isn't merely like a capital upgrade, that they were trying to and have been trying to resolve a problem. So that's just the only thing we would offer while we're here this way.
Yeah, I understand. I think if it had been even like 1 or 2 years out on the capital planning, submission, it would at least had some discussion by capital planning. Even if it's not pending, they usually talk about things 1 or 2 years out. That's all. Any questions, comments from members? No? Okay. Any thoughts on the process or anything?
Got it.
Okay, all right.
Nothing more. It's needed, and let the town's meeting people decide at this point.
All right,
what
that's
we can
fine.
do.
And again, it wasn't on our capital plan for
Yeah.
even the future, because it's not how we were gonna pay for that. We were gonna come to the board and, we were told that we could come to the board for UDAG funding.
But we need a transportation.
That's before it all fell apart on us.
Okay.
So that's why it was never on our capital plan.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions for Chief Mario, Lieutenant Gill? All right, gentlemen, I thank
All right.
you for coming
Thank
down.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And obviously, if you have any questions,
Absolutely.
in the interim, just let us know.
Okay, we will.
All right, thank you.
Were you able to get a copy of that presentation?
I didn't get a chance to download it.
All right.
I'll take a look.
If there's
for
a
it.
trouble, just give us a shout. We can
All
email
right,
the
we'll
board
do.
a copy of it.
Okay.
if you have it.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so that was Article 6. So after we go through the articles, we'll go and take I guess we'll discuss, we want to give our positions tonight, so that they're on the warrant. Article 7 is increasing funding for the reserve fund transfer. We had reduced it to $100,000 from $150,000 for FY17. However, we had some increased spending into the reserve fund transfer after we had set the budget amount. And with the eminent domain and a few other items that are going on in town, there's some concerns over 100,000 may not be enough. So we're looking to increase that to 50. UDAG replenishment, see if the town will raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of $300,000 to replenish UDAG. The total amount that's outstanding on UDAG is $617,596. Primarily that is, I do have a breakdown, I think, somewhere. That's the eminent domain purchase is a large, significant portion of that. And then there's, that's $595,000, and there's $22,596, which is 111F medical bills. which for 111F that was recently resolved. So by board discussed, so this is all pending free cash being certified before fall town meeting. If it's not, this article will be pulled. The recommendation from the town accountant was to not replenish the whole thing at once, even if we have the free cash for it. So we opted to, through discussion, to cut it in half, so it's about $300,000 is what we're looking for replenishment. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to speak up. Article 9, transfer unexpended balances for water garage at Grove Pond. So this is just taking prior approvals by town meeting going back to 2010 and just reallocating those to the water garage at Grove Pond. Article 10, Pleasant Street School preservation, no financial impact on that. Article 11 has a small financial impact. Bylaw amendment for Article 3, Section 3, no dog license fees for a dog owned by a person age 70 or over.
What is the current fee?
It's $15. I actually have no problem with that. I think, you know, any way we can help those on fixed incomes. Okay. Article 12, authorization to grant one additional all alcohol license. So this would be the town going back. It doesn't necessarily have a direct financial impact at this time, so I don't think we can pass that one. Article 13, water line extension for National Guard facility on Barnum Road in Devons. This is just to allow the conversation to begin, and then if it does move forward, there would be a separate warrant article to actually approve the connection. Street acceptance for Article 14. Street acceptances are always good because that affects our Chapter 90 money. And then no citizens petitions. So if we want, we can go through and we can vote recommendations for the financial articles, and they will appear on the warrant, the printed warrant for town meeting. Option 2 is we can withhold, and we can do it at our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And if there's any, we don't have to do all of them. If there are any that you two are uncertain about with the position, we can always leave it blank and do a report out at town meeting. Thoughts, ideas, preferences?
I think tonight is fine, right?
Tonight's fine, yeah. Okay. All right. Article 1, since we don't have any prior year bills. Article 2, if there's any objections, what we can do is we can just do a single vote afterwards unless there's one that we need to exclude. Any objections to Article 2? No? Okay. Any objections to Article 3?
Are they money articles? Because I don't know what they are.
Yeah, sorry. Article 2 is the funding for the TADS, the Teenage Anxiety and Depression Solutions. Article 3 is the contract funding for the NEPBA Superior Officers Union. Actually, Article 4, we didn't circle back and discuss this. Sorry about that. Article 4, supplemental appropriation for position of the Conservation Commission agent. So it's $35,178 to make it a full-time position with benefits. Articles make part-time conservation position a full-time with benefits. Portion of this article for salary is $18,236 and the benefits are $16,943. So we did discuss this at by board. This kind of goes back to, for me, a procedure issue because it's something I think should be part of the next budget cycle. Conservation does have some concerns about losing their current conservation agent if this doesn't pass, but they also didn't come back to us in the springtime clamoring, to this level. I mean, they've been asking this for a while, but they've never gotten to a point where I guess they've gotten a critical mass like they are now. I just I disagree with it because of the procedure. I think it really needs to go through the regular budget process.
But they had the opportunity to submit this back in the spring.
Correct.
They chose not to.
Correct.
And the only urgency isn't surrounding the work that needs to be done, but the potential concern of losing the current.
If they lose the current one, because it's a part-time unbenefited position, they have had issues filling that position in the past.
What does the position do exactly on behalf of the town?
A lot of things. So the conservation agent, and I'm going to try and go from memory, see if I can remember some of these things. The conservation agent handles, what's that?
Did you do it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know I did that. But I talked to Bill a few weeks ago, Mr. Daniels a few weeks ago. So they handle any of the conservation permitting. They do site walks. They do inspections. They post, I think if they're, I'm trying to think how to phrase it. If there's a request for something through the Conservation Commission, it has to be posted publicly. So they handle that. They work the office here, so they'll answer questions of the residents as they come in. And the other thing which they try to do is just kind of get around town here and there and see what's going on.
You referenced inspections, so is that for, like, for example, if there's new construction that they might be surveying the land around it, that sort of thing? Or
There's
is it
protections around
Wetlands.
wetlands
Yeah.
primarily, or even the ponds. For example, when we had a house, we're down by Flanagan's. So a house down the street from us on the non-pond side was putting in a stone wall years ago. And the problem was that section of the road, there was no house on the pond side, so the pond was comes right up to the road. They have to be, I think it's 25 or 30 feet from the water to do that kind of construction or get permission. And the wall was 23 feet. So through a drive-by, they said, well, you can't do this. You need to come to the Conservation Commission and get approval. So that's more of what the inspections are. You know, people will come in and say, you know, another neighbor of ours was redoing their lawn. So they said, heavy equipment's going to be in, you know, and they wanted to get permission for that.
So at this time, the person is a part-time person?
It is a
right now?
part-time person, yeah.
So what is, if there isn't a person to do that for a period of time, what is the potential liability to the town for not having that position
Things
filled?
can move ahead without enforcement.
But it's not like an organization could come in, like a federal agency, and say, you know, the town wasn't enforcing things during
No.
this time period and therefore is liable for.
Now, before they hired the current person, one of the members actually acted as the conservation agent in her free time, which was a huge service given, I think they were months before they were able to fill the position. But, so, my thought is, I mean, my personal feeling is I would not recommend it because I believe that it should wait till the spring.
I don't see the huge risk of waiting until the spring if there's not going to be a potential impact related to the town's services on a significant scale that would create liability or.
Yeah, there's definitely no liability, but the risk is if the agent ends up leaving, which is their fear.
But in the spring, if it gets approved and it becomes a full-time benefited position, they'll have an
Yeah.
easier time
July 1, they'll
Filling it.
have a
filling it.
position that they
So
can
worst
fill.
case scenario is that they would be waiting until they could hire for July 1, right?
Right.
If
Yeah, or they might be able to get someone part-time with the promise of full-time if it's going
passed.
through town meeting.
It's difficult for me because I understand the value of the services that they bring, but to your point that they had the opportunity in the spring to bring this to us.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give you the little spiel I did at the buy board. So we went through the FY17 budget process. We put together a budget. We had money that we baked in for OPEB, for stabilization, capital stabilization. So basically, when we estimate our revenues to the best of our ability, we pretty much allocated everything out. You know, we spent a huge chunk. We put some away for the future, And now in the fall, we're asking for an additional, I'm gonna say 500,000, but you know, the police radio is a borrow. So it's probably around, with everything, I'd say about $150,000 that we're asking for on top of that, which all impacts the tax rate. So when the tax rate gets set for the calendar year in December, they'll look at what we approved at the Springtown meeting, what we approved throughout the year. Those come together and they say, based upon that, you have to set your tax rate at X amount of dollars. That's really what my issue is. I would prefer to work something like this into just the regular omnibus so that it impacts that decision on how much are we putting into stabilization, capital stabilization. Because that also drives where when we're building the budget, it drives some of the decisions that we make and recommendations that we make. You know, if certain departments are asking for large items and other ones aren't, and then in the fall that flips, it doesn't give that, I don't think it gives that necessary transparency that we need with the budget process.
I would agree with that.
Can I say something?
Sure,
real
Mary?
quick? Just a reminder that a conservation agent hasn't even been in this town for 10 years. For years, all we had was an administrative assistant, and that person worked for planning, zoning, and Concom. So I agree with you, this should go through the whole budget process. And we existed, we never were fined, so I don't know who did all that, but we certainly, that was probably around 2007, 2008, where they asked to have an agent.
I will say, because I did sit on the Conservation Commission for about a year and a half, 2 years, and the regulations have changed a lot since
Yes.
then, and that is part of the reason why there is, you know, it necessitates having
Right.
an actual agent as opposed to administrative assistant.
But I think Mary Ann made a point too, when she said, if you hire somebody with the idea, let them
Mhm.
know that
Yeah.
we're putting this for a full
Yep.
time, that makes a difference.
Yeah, and the current agent may like it here enough where they would be willing to wait.
Mhm.
So a consensus on 4 for recommendation, yes, no?
I would recommend that we not
Okay,
recommend, yeah.
With her.
all right.
Scott, did,
We'll take official votes at the end.
excuse me, did they change it at the selectmen's meeting? They said that $800,000 of UDAG was already accounted for.
The number we had at the buy board was the 617,596. So I don't know where the other 150,000 went.
Yeah.
I think Robert has it in a big room and for gold coins that they go swimming in
That could
every
be.
afternoon. Article 5, funding for aquatic weed control for town ponds. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $54,000 for the purpose of aquatic weed control for the town's ponds. Explanatory note, this article would fund this town's spring 2007 aquatic treatment of Sandy Pond, Flanagan Pond, and Pine Meadow Pond. Allow me to elaborate before we just begin discussion. So the reason why this is on here as opposed to waiting for a Springtown meeting is the funding is needed to treat the ponds before we even get to Springtown meeting, because treating ponds, there's a very narrow window of when they can be treated. It has to do with how, before they think the weeds germinate, et cetera. There's a lot of sciencey stuff that goes into it. So that is the reason that they're asking for this. The dollar amount, 54,000. So there is actually 15,000 that's still approved from a previous town meeting. The initial number that the Conservation Commission came to us with 3 years ago was we need 3 years of treatment. One was going to be 35. First year was 35,000. Second year was 35,000. Third year was 15,000. Hence having the 15,000 still set aside. They had a pond and dam review by a consulting, I think it was a consulting firm. And they said, they came up with a different treatment plan as being necessary for all the ponds. So that kind of leads us to the number that we have here for review. So this one is on the warrant article, and I believe the Board of Selectmen are going to keep it on the warrant because of the timing where the funds need to be made available sooner than later. So that's the background. So get it amongst yourselves.
Well, it's the this is just a continuing process that they've already done in the past.
It does build upon it. It's a shift in what they're doing, but it does build upon what.
It's already the foundation that's already been laid.
Yeah,
for
and I will say Flanagan's Pond looked horrible last year.
Oh, it
You know,
certainly did.
It's yeah, and I guess from conversations I've had with other people, I guess sections of Sandy Pond are starting to get pretty bad.
Yeah, over and
Also.
over. Yep.
Yeah. So it's something that was held off for years, just was never done. They took an initial step 3 years ago, and then they went the next step and had the consulting firm take a look at everything. And now this is what they're presenting. And going forward, we'll build this into the omnibus budget, so we have as a line item somewhere.
And when did they recognize they needed this treatment, this additional treatment?
I said all summer. How about you?
I don't know the exact date that they
Did I?
received the information. However, I believe it was after Springtown meeting that they received the
So it was
information.
after Springtown meeting,
Yes,
okay.
and I think it was at some point over the summer.
Whatever they can do.
For the time, yeah.
So thoughts, concerns? Yes, no?
Yes.
I'll give you yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Article 6, do you want to make a recommendation on 6, or do you want to leave it blank for now?
What is it?
Police
Sorry, so the
radios.
police radios.
When I didn't ask because maybe I should have, but what is the difference between the systems with fire and police that the fire department doesn't have the same problems or challenges?
The fire department is on a UHF. It's a different band.
Yeah, okay,
So that it's a different bandwidth.
Got it.
So they're on
The police are the BH.
VHF, yeah.
okay.
It's a public safety need, yes. I think they've tried to address the problem in the past by upgrading their cruiser radios, so I'm good with that. But I'm hoping that this is going to be the
Final solution.
Final solution, and
Right.
Lieutenant Gill claims that the consultant says that it is, and my only question is, well, what happens if we get to phase 2 of this and all of a sudden we need more equipment?
Mm.
Yeah.
So is this what the consultant is saying this is the true numbers, or this is, with watching the video today, he said it was high. He went a little bit higher on some of these items. If I watched the meeting again today, but it's a needed. We do need it. It's a safety for just not the offices but the community. So I'm hoping with this that it is the fix all.
Well, and the difficulty too, I think, is that what you're resting on the feedback from one consultant, but on the flip side of that, if you wanted multiple opinions, you'd have to be paying for those multiple opinions
Exactly.
to
Right.
get some sort of consensus. So there's a cost in doing that
Yeah.
as well.
I'll be
And I'm
honest.
sure it's not cheap.
I watched the Board of Selectmen meeting. This guy knows his stuff. To be honest. It's like he was speaking in tongues at times.
Yeah.
Just very sciencey.
But couldn't we put the second part through capital, which maybe would
The
enforce
capital-
it a little more with the residents?
That's a good thought.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
have to go
Yeah, I
forward
mean, right
with
now
this
it's
first
only
part.
You
phase
definitely
1.
have to go through with a phase 1.
Yeah.
You said I sat down. I took the initiative last Friday to stop by the police station, and Lieutenant Gill was very willing to sit down with me for a good half an hour. We went through everything that he had, and, you know, I deal with the same situation in my profession during the day, so I know their problems, and, you know.
But I think putting,
But I-
Chris, the second part through capital
Yep.
is
Yeah.
another body that pushes it forward,
Exactly.
rather than just saying.
That's
"Oh,
actually a
we'll
good
do it."
thought,
Yeah.
Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would work
Yeah.
better, because it's needed. It's just the half of how you're gonna pay for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it, so, town accountant says interest rates for a bar are running around 2% municipal.
Hmm.
So just want to throw that out there for full disclosure.
Is it a 5-year borrow?
I think it would end up being 5 years, yes. So, I personally, I'm going to abstain because I don't want to be the guy that says no, but I also have a problem with that it's never been on capital in the procedural, so.
Well, I'm also gonna abstain because there's a few things that I still haven't been questioned about. I still have a few
Mhm.
questions about it, and I'm still new to a lot of this process
Okay.
with you guys, so
Yeah, no
I feel a
problem.
little bit more comfortable of abstaining.
Yeah, we
At this
can
point.
pass over it. We don't have to make a recommendation at this time.
Well, since you're both abstaining, it doesn't really matter.
At an emergency capital meeting, we presented it.
All right, moving on to Article 7, increase funding of the reserve fund by $50,000. I would hope that would be yes. I'm all for this, just as a safety.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. Replenishing the UDAG funds, $300,000. And again, this is dependent on free cash being approved. And I did mention to the town administrator that we should try to put something in here that's stipulates it has to be from free cash to replenish UDAG. Any problems with that? No, that's a yes on that one? Yes.
Yep.
Article 9 is just a housekeeping, move approved funds to a project. Any issues? So yes with that. Article 10, Pleasant Street School Preservation, doesn't deal with us. Article 11, with the dog license, waiving of the dog license fee. I say yes. Okay.
I mean, how many people over the 70 or older have a dog
It's just a
and it's
feel-good.
$15?
Well, they
I
hit
know.
us on the other end.
What's that?
I said that's the feel good while they hit us on the other end.
Well, you know, if you don't have that $15, we need to get it somewhere. Article 12 is the alcohol license. We'll pass on. I'm not going to give anything on that one. 13 is the water line extension. I don't think that has any impact. Article 14 is the street acceptance. I think it doesn't have a financial impact because it impacts our Chapter 90 money from the state.
What streets?
It is Norwood Ave.
Wow, it's never done.
Did you see the list that we approved in the spring?
Oh, I
There
know.
were streets from like 20 years ago.
I know,
Russian.
because Dan was the one that discovered that.
I know. I'm all for giving a recommendation for 14.
Sure, it's a second earlier, more revenue, right?
Can I ask a silly question?
Yeah, it's never a silly
Going
question.
back to Article 12.
Article
Oh,
12.
yeah, alcohol license.
Okay.
So, if I go to a restaurant, is the meals tax only applied to the food, or is it applied to the entirety of the bill?
The entirety of the bill.
Just saying, there was a financial impact there.
Well, so this is for, just to give
An
you.
all alcohol license,
The
right?
all
So not
alcohol
just-
license is for the sale, so it would be another,
So it's not-
another liquor
it's not a
store.
Restaurant.
Not a
Oh, it
restaurant.
wouldn't be for
I
a,
think that
got
was
it,
the
okay.
Grapevine. That was
Yeah,
the
so,
one-
well, it's actually, I guess the Grapevine and Hannaford, or sorry, Shop and Save are both looking for a full liquor license.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So they're all currently out there, so they're asking for another one.
Oh, never mind.
This is like a home rule petition to
Yeah.
ask the legislature to give us one, so this isn't gonna, nothing's gonna happen
Happen with
until
this.
next year.
Yeah.
Or the year after that,
Well,
or the year after that.
Nothing this year, they're too busy drinking.
Is it difficult to get that granted at the state?
I think it depends on, I actually don't know.
Hmm.
I would think it would depend on, my guess is they would probably come back to Chief Murray for one, to get his feedback, probably Chief Pedrazi, get his feedback just from a public safety
Safety
perspective.
standpoint, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, never mind. My theory of it helping the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could try the hotel tax again.
We could.
We could.
No, it was too bad that failed.
All right, give me one moment to make some notes here.
We apply that to Airbnb? I don't think we can, right?
No, unfortunately, we cannot.
Hmm.
All right, so I will, if the committee wills, I will take a recommendation to give recommendations for fall town meeting for Article 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 14. You can say so moved and if it comes up.
So moved.
Okay.
Can you
Yeah,
read that
that's okay.
again? I'm sorry. I normally circle these things and I just hadn't, so.
Article,
2, 4.
Article 2,
Yeah.
3,
3, yeah.
5, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 14. So I have a first from Mr. Crowe,
Seconded.
second from Ms. Zawacki. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair says aye, 3-0, unanimous. I will take a motion, if it wills the committee, to vote a recommendation of no on Article 4.
So moved.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And the chair says aye, 3-0. And then for Article 6, we're just going to abstain.
Right.
I will agenda this for Article 6 for just quick discussion if we want to, our next meeting, which is before fall town meeting, just in case anyone changes their mind, we want to make a recommendation, et cetera, or if any other news comes to light.
I will not be present at that meeting.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So we need another date.
All right, we'll talk afterwards then.
Otherwise we
We'll
won't
figure
have
it out.
quorum, right?
What are you doing? Just kidding.
Can we swear Mary in temporarily?
No, her getting off the committee is what brought me on it, by the way. All right, so that's all for fall town meeting. I'll get those over to the recommendations over to the town administrator. Okay, so finance committee positions. What we have for this evening is, so generally what happens is every fiscal year, we reorganize ourselves one way, shape, or form, or we stay the same if it wills the committee, into with the chairman, the vice chairman, and a clerk. We also have standing appointments on the personnel board and the capital planning board. These are not, the only two that we are absolutely 100% required to have by law is a chairman and a clerk. The vice chairman, it's kind of like the vice president. You go to the grocery stores, you cut a ribbon and you smile.
I was the vice chairman.
So we'll start, so I guess that you had, Ms. Zawacki, you had brought up whether you wanted to actually vote on these tonight or not. So if you have any concerns, please feel free.
I have, well, I don't have really any concern other than I don't know if I have the time to commit to being the clerk, that's all.
Ditto. That would be the same for me. That's my predicament.
Hence
Can we
why I
do a
was hoping there was
reschedule?
another party attending this meeting for the committee. But
Well, the only thing I'll say, all right, so I'm fine staying on as chairman unless one of you two want. So I'm happy to stay on as chairman for the rest of the fiscal year. But I will say I would like a little help from the vice chairman, which right now is Mr. Lackey. Just when it comes to like posting, et cetera, because I'm flat out myself. And what that means, we can figure it out as we go.
yeah, I just I'm not sure that I'm going to continue on after fall meeting, so I
Okay.
don't want to be in a position where I'm
Oh, that's fine.
taking on additional
No,
responsibility.
no
So.
problem. All right, no problem. So for the clerk position, we can do, even if we don't have an official clerk, as long as we have someone taking notes and putting minutes together, we can do it on a rolling basis if that works out better for everyone.
Sure.
Because I have a backlog of probably like 15 meetings that I have to do going back to last
Okay.
year. So if that's the case, then we'll forego any official votes. I'm assuming no one wants the appointments to capital planning or personnel at this point in
Thank
time. Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
Scott,
Yes.
is it, I know you have to have a clerk listed, but is it a no-no to maybe get a volunteer, somebody you know that is good, that just could come in and type the minutes up for you while you're having a meeting?
That question came up a couple of years ago with another committee, and I think that they said no.
But this wouldn't be, quote, a permanent clerk. It would be like
Yeah.
a volunteer. Could even be a shave person that is very good, that's worked in a company with a computer, that could come in there, here maybe with their own laptop and just take the minutes for you.
Something I can discuss with the town administrator.
I don't think it's ever been asked before, but I know we've had people sign up and looking for shave work or whatever they call that now, senior work off.
Okay.
But I
Yeah,
think it would might
I'll
help
discuss
you.
with the town administrator. Okay. All right, moving on. Old business. We don't have any mail. The only thing we had in the mail was was another MMA invoice, but I signed the first one and handed that in for for payment. We don't have any minutes at this time. Upcoming business. I'm just going to take the 5-year budget model off because that's never going to happen. It's 90% done, but I'll never get that last 10%. Committee updates, school building committee, I know Chris, you mentioned is just one more meeting.
And that is scheduled for the 13th, and then they've asked the committee to come and meet with the school committee on the 19th. And I think that's when we're gonna hand over the official school from the building committee back to the school committee at that time. So I think that's when the committee will cease to
Excellent.
exist at that point.
Good for you. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Executive buy board. So a lot of buy boards met yesterday. A lot of the discussion was just around the fall town meeting warrant. I don't think there was anything else in my chicken scratch that I didn't bring up. No, that's about it. Everything was covered in our discussions earlier. So go to the round table. I'll start. I know we talked very briefly before we called to order, but as I said, I reached out, two things on the membership drive front. I reached out to an individual that I had an email address from the town administrator. I have not heard back from that person. Town administrator said he'll follow up with them directly. And I also went to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday and made my, as I phrased it, the annual plea for membership. So we'll see what comes out of it. You know, I did try to stress when I was at the Selectmen's meeting that we're trying to figure out the cadence of the budget meetings, which always seems to be the big put off with some people, and the the requirements, you know, some people think you're required to have a financial background, which you're not, so. We'll see, hopefully we can get some traction with that.
I know that we had talked about in passing possibility of bringing it up at the fall town meeting, just because it's a large
Mhm.
captive audience. Do you think that that would be something that would still be
Oh,
a
absolutely.
possibility?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. I will,
Check with Tom.
yeah, I'll check with the town moderator to do that. We're gonna have a couple of presentations. So the article on increasing reserve fund transfer, I'll do a slide for that. For Article 6, I may do just a summary article to remind everyone that, you know, what we approve here impacts the tax rate, which is something I put together for spring town meeting. Just as a reminder for the taxpayers. And that's all I have for roundtable. Anything? No. I know I did forget to agenda the MMA meeting in October, because we didn't get anything in the mail for that, so. I'll send out an email if you're interested in going, let me know, and I'll sign everyone up. Next regularly scheduled meeting is October 12th.
Which we need to reschedule.
All right, so we do need to reschedule that. Well, actually, we may not have to meet, because we have our approval for that, or recommendations for fall town meeting. Fall town meeting is on the 24th. So unless something urgent comes up, I think we can forego a meeting for that first part of October. Okay. All right, excellent. And if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn
So moved.
at 8:02.